There was a time 20 years ago where if you filmed a horror movie on a tight enough budget, you could plausibly turn a profit from the DVD sales alone. Unfortunately for Chris Sharpe, his entry into the horror genre came just as the DVD market was collapsing, and so his career as a movie director fizzled out after he made only one film. Luckily, one of the stars of that film, Hilah Johnson, had a strong on-screen presence and a penchant for cooking, and together they launched Hilah Cooking, a YouTube channel that eventually grew to over 450,000 subscribers. Then a few years later, Chris teamed up with another co-star from that movie, Adrian Mishler, to launch Yoga with Adrian, which now has over 13 million subscribers on YouTube. In a recent interview, Chris walked through how he and his collaborators launched both channels, why Hilah decided to eventually end her channel, and the massive success they've seen building a yoga streaming app. Hello, I'm Simon Owens, and this is The Business of Content, the show about how publishers create, distribute, and monetize their digital content. If you want to listen to an audio version of this show, subscribe to The Business of Content wherever you get your podcasts. Okay, let's jump into the interview. Hey Chris, thanks for joining us.
You bet.
So we're here to talk about your amazing success on YouTube, working with other creators on YouTube. I of course, you were kind of like a early mover on the platform, and I'd love to just talk about like what led up to that, because you actually came from traditional Hollywood. In fact, you were making straight to DVD horror films. How did you get into doing that?
Well, I'm not sure that's really classifies as traditional Hollywood, but we were trying to get into traditional Hollywood, and we thought that the way to do that was to make like indie movies. And this was at that time, it was kind of the last gasps of the DVD business. So we were making stuff and had relationships with distributors that would get our movies into Best Buy and that kind of thing. So I directed one, was in the process of directing a second one. That kind of fell apart along with the DVD industry right around the same time, and left me kind of like directionless on what to do next. And I started hearing about YouTube. I didn't know of anyone that was making money on YouTube at the time. This was like 2009. So we decided to give it a shot. And the first show was a cooking show. We didn't have any money. We just had a camera that was left over from behind the scenes of the last movie that had fallen apart. And so we started making a cooking show, a funny cooking show, and that kind of took off. And I started trying to see if I could implement that model elsewhere, and that led me to yoga.
So for like the straight to DVD horror film market, so this is like the late aughts. Was this before the Blumhouse era? Because like there's this whole tradition of like inexpensive horror movies actually like performing really well, and because they're inexpensive, they don't have to like make as much money as a Marvel movie in order to like make really good returns on investment. It's why like A24, Blumhouse, these now household names got started with these movies that had like minuscule budgets and stuff like that. But that's kind of like a modern. Was this like pre-Blumhouse era type of thing?
I believe so. I hadn't heard of Blumhouse at that point. I was influenced by not only like the old school Roger Corman and those characters, but also the wave of '90s indie filmmakers that went the more traditional film festival route. I was inspired by all of that. It just kind of like looked like a venue to get somewhere by making stuff. So that's what I was trying to do. And the horror seemed, I've always been a fan of horror movies, and it also seemed like I understood that market, and it seemed like that was a little bit more doable and interesting to me personally.
So like, was it that era was that if you could make it cheaply enough, you were almost guaranteed to turn a profit, because there was always like this fan base of like campy horror films that would buy these DVDs or something like that? Was that kind of the thinking behind it?
That was the thinking behind it. I put a little bit too much faith in getting a distributor, and I think that's where the money was really made. But the distributors that were able to pick up these movies for like really low budget, and then through Hollywood accounting, not really like pay much back in profit on some of like on my first like feature that I directed. I probably would have been better off going to conventions and like selling that like directly. But it was a different time. We went through a distributor, never really saw any money through the distributor. We did a bunch of screenings and stuff, and those did well, but that was really that and merchandise was the only real revenue stream for that one.
And what was like the typical budget for one of these movies?
Well, the one that I directed was like around a $15,000 budget, and then the second one that I was directing, that one had stepped up. That the first movie won some awards and at festivals, and then so the second one we were able to put together like $250,000. It just that money got cut off like while we were in the middle of production because that was like 2000 and late 2008, and there was a lot of other financial things going on in the world at the time, and I think that was like that. Like we weren't behind schedule. We just like our money got cut off, and I didn't know where else to go get it.
And was it the Great Recession that killed that off, or was it the end of the DVD market? Because I feel like if I open any streaming app today, I still see lots of low budget horror and science fiction and stuff like that on it. So
for sure, yeah. But it was before that, so like streaming wasn't really a thing yet, but the DVD market was really like getting hollowed out at that time, and I do think it coincided with like the 2008 financial crisis. But I was like, honestly, like completely unaware because I was out in the middle of nowhere making a movie. I was not paying attention to what was going on in the world. I was like so focused in on this. But in hindsight, I can kind of connect the dots and see that's what was going on.
And then I think two of the people that were in like extras or something in one of your movies are your went on to become your collaborators, right?
Yep.
And I think I could be wrong, but one of them was also your wife. So tell me about the kind of genesis of this first YouTube channel. You started with a cooking YouTube channel.
Yeah. So the movie that we were making was a horror comedy, a post Rapture. It was actually a post-Rapture movie, which we were kind of treating as so it's kind of post-apocalyptic too. But it was about a 3-girl punk rock band that was touring across Texas when the Rapture happens one night, and everything goes crazy, and there's monsters and demons and all this kind of stuff. So, so like two of the leads, one, she wasn't my wife at the time. She is my wife now. Was Hilah, and we'd worked on a lot of we'd had a sketch comedy YouTube channel together, and so I asked her if she was interested in that, and I was eating a lot of food at her house at the time. She was a great cook. So I was like, yeah, we should make a funny cooking show that's not so much about, it does have the how-to, but what if we take a weird, like PG-13, almost R-rated comedy bent to this comedy show and kind of build out a world where we have like lots of in-jokes and other characters popping up every now and then. So it's like people, if they find you and resonate with you as a person, the cooking is an easy hook and they will learn to cook, but the whole thing will be funny. And we're kind of creating this little weird world around cooking. And that's what really worked, because a lot of people watch that show just to see her, not necessarily for the recipe. So that was the first one. And as that started to pick up, this was still like everybody was figuring out YouTube in those days. So we were starting.
What year did the channel launch?
That launched in 2010.
2010. And so you said that did you have a different channel that you were doing with her that was like sketch comedy, you said?
Yeah, so we had to, during the time when we were making these horror movies, we also had like a sketch comedy channel called Big Ol' Tire Fire with some other friends in Austin. And it was very slacker. We were, I'm not saying it was like, it was a lot of fun, and we made some funny stuff, but it was not like really designed to, like I don't know what it was designed to do. But it led to like a lot of other stuff.
But it gave you the first kind of feel or taste for YouTube and creating YouTube. So you launched a channel in 2010. Were you guys dating, married by this point, or?
We were not. Still just good friends and liked working together. So it was a couple years later that we got together. And
you launched a channel. Was the model just like, here's a recipe? Like, I know it was personality based, but was each episode based around a specific food?
Yeah, totally. When that movie I talked about fell apart, I was like really unsure what to do next, because I felt like the independent movie thing was not panning out, and I was kind of I felt like I was unemployable. So I decided I got to learn how to do something to do with the internet. So I just basically holed up and learned how to do like search engine optimization and keyword research and all that kind of stuff. So that was really like the foundation. I generated like a list and did some research on 100 recipe ideas that I felt like we could get traffic for, because we weren't going to have money for advertising. And so if we can organically get people to like come in and try to figure out how to make a corn dog at home, then that brings new people in. if they like the vibe, maybe they'll subscribe and stick around and get engaged with the show. So it was just like using search engine research and optimizing the videos for search to bring in new people. So it was like, yeah, each episode was a specific recipe. Most of them very Texas style home cooking.
Mm-hmm. And there weren't very many people making a living off of YouTube back then. Did you think that would be the goal, like eventually to like turn it into a business? Or
our goal at that time was, okay, well, if we can make a good enough show and prove that there's an audience for it, maybe we can do a TV thing, because cooking on TV, that seemed like if we could get a production deal to produce our own cooking show that would be on cable or, at the time, that was the goal. But as we started to build the channel and we started getting, at that time, YouTube had some really interesting programs to cultivate creators. And we won a thing called YouTube Next Chef, where we were with, I think it was like 6 other cooking creators. We went through like a whole, that one was virtual, but we got to meet up, through Zoom calls and stuff. We got to meet other cooking creators and kind of become friends with them. And no one was really like making that much money at the time, but everyone was having a lot of fun, and some of those people we're still like really close friends with. And then after that, we got asked to join a thing called the YouTube. It changed names a couple times. I think it ended up being the YouTube Creator Accelerator. And then we actually came out to LA in the YouTube space and worked with people and did collabs and that type of thing. And that's when it started to click that, okay, now it's, and I think that's when we first got into the YouTube Partner Program. It wasn't by default. It wasn't like, there weren't milestones that you defaulted into at that time. You had to like get accepted into it. So we got into that and we're like, okay, this is pretty interesting. Let's see if we can take all this YouTube advice and turn this into something.
And when you launched in 2010, how long did it take for you started to build like a real audience where you felt like you were like really gaining momentum?
Well, it's interesting too, because to go look back at it, the numbers back then were like, YouTube was just smaller. So the numbers back then that felt really exciting to us at the time wouldn't really be that big a deal nowadays, right? But then it was like, if we were getting, 25,000 regular views on a video, that felt like really good to us, because even in those early days, we were collecting email addresses and we had like a digital cookbook that we sold. That was like the main like revenue source for us. That sold like actually really, really well and very consistently. So we'd promote that in the videos, and it was just a PDF. So we sold that. Eventually we turned that into a print book that continues to sell today, even though that channel is no longer going. So all of our monetization was intentionally off platform, not intentionally. It's just, we weren't, like the AdSense was not making that much at the time. So we did like these cookbooks, and then we also started producing shows for other more, I guess what I would call legacy media companies that wanted to figure out the YouTube space. And it seemed like to them, they're like, well, if we work with people that are already active and involved, we can grow faster. So we produced several shows for companies like Scripps and Tastemade in the early days of Tastemade. So that was the revenue stream before the AdSense really picked up. That probably took about 3 years to become significant for us.
And I'm sure you found, and you probably found this later also with the yoga channel, that by focusing something that was evergreen, that it was kind of compounding growth of like, every single video could be kind of like a gateway into the channel, the cooking
Absolutely.
channel. Like once she had like a library of like maybe 50 videos or something like that, then the growth got a lot easier.
Yeah, because you have people coming in through the older ones, and like even now on the yoga channel, some of them our most popular and most profitable videos are videos that we made in the first like 2 years. So they're like really old and like kind of embarrassing to see now, like quality wise, because we've upgraded everything so much since then. But yeah, so it's still like having this like evergreen content library. That's what we were like setting out to build.
And you said that like your revenue stream, because AdSense was so small back then, so you were kind of using the YouTube channel as like a calling card for other companies that wanted to hire smart people who knew how to do YouTube. And so you were producing these videos, but then you were like charging like some kind of base rate or some kind of project based rate to like launch series for other companies.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so what happened then a few years later, once like YouTube starts to mature, maybe AdSense starts to mature a little bit. I know the channel got up to over 400,000 subscribers. Did that like unlock any doors? Did you start bringing on like sponsors and stuff like that? Like how did you start diversifying revenue once it got a little bit larger?
Yeah, so with the cooking channel, yeah, we did start to bring out, that niche is like very easy to incorporate sponsors into. It just works because a lot of times they're food companies. So yeah, sponsorships, AdSense really like heated up faster than we expected. So we still had our own products. So we would do like cookbooks, and then we had a few like digital courses that for things that focused around something like vegetarian cooking or different more focused things where it's like you get like 10 recipes and 10 videos and this type of thing. So we were selling our own little courses. And so we had the courses, we had the books, we had the sponsorships or brand integrations, and then we had series that we would produce for other companies on top of the AdSense.
For the books, were you self-publishing, or was she getting like book deals?
Yeah, we were self-publishing.
Yeah. And what was kind of whether the book deals, were they not available at the time, or like was it just because you wanted to just get a higher margin on the books?
Well, initially it was to test it. So testing it with, when we did the first ebook, there was a lot of like internet people like selling PDF ebooks. It was kind of like new and people were into it. It seems really old fashioned now, but so that was like a really like fast way to like get something out there and test it. So then our most popular ebook was called Learn to Cook, which is also SEO'd for the time, that did really well just based on like search engines. We eventually turned that one into a printed book, and she has done one book through a publisher. And it was just, I don't know, like the traditional publishing route, it didn't seem, there would have been other doors that potentially would have opened, but it wasn't quite as congruous with our personalities, which is just like going fast. Like the publishing is slow, and it's not like really that much money unless you're definitely going to have like a, mega seller. So yeah, it was just never like that, like going through that process was never that attractive, really.
Yeah. And then, is her name pronounced Hilah? How do you pronounce her name?
It's Hilah.
Hilah?
Yeah, Hilah.
Like, how did her kind of life change through all this? Like, was she starting to get, like, recognized on the street, stuff like that?
Yeah, everywhere. So that was a part that she didn't really like about it. I mean, it was fun the first few times, but then as it became more and more of a thing, it was not that appealing. Especially after, we did get married and had a baby, and that changes a lot on what your appetite is for like being recognized, and also probably that contributed to us slowing down and then stopping that channel.
When did you stop the channel?
We stopped in 2017.
2017. So like YouTube was still, I mean, it was much larger by that point, but nowhere near as large as it is today. Like, do you think that like she could be, one of the top food YouTubers now if you guys had kept on going? Because there are now some with like over 10, 20 million subscribers.
Yeah. I think if we would, I think we did have like it was nice to like start early in some ways, but it was also like not great to start early in other ways. But I also, I don't think we anticipate, it doesn't seem, like looking back, it was like just under 500,000 subscribers. It doesn't seem like a huge channel or any of that, but it did become like bigger than we anticipated and something different than what we anticipated it being. And I think that was just not something she was interested in like pursuing anymore. She had other interests, and that consumed everything really, even at like 500,000 subscribers.
So in the next, 7-8 years, what's happened to the channel in terms of, is it like, obviously there was a lot of evergreen content there. Is it continued to perform, or is it started to get kind of overshadowed? I don't know how the YouTube algorithm will keep on rewarding evergreen content if the creator isn't still creating new content.
Definitely it's I mean, it still like makes revenue, right? Not a lot, and the website is still up. That still is a fairly high traffic website that makes advertising revenue. Yeah, I kind of forgot to mention the ads on the actual like website. That was a pretty significant revenue stream over time. So that continues to do pretty well. And then we still make YouTube revenue, but it's a dead channel for all intents and purposes. We haven't published in many years. So so it's kind of out there. We still hear people are still definitely like watching it, and it's funny where it pops up sometimes. And she still does get recognized every once in a while, and just kind of it's different. It's more fun now that it's a little scaled back.
So like the website, was that just like like article versions of the recipes she was doing, like what was on the website?
Yeah, and other content. It wasn't all tied directly to the videos, so there was just other like food and cooking content.
Mm-hmm. And you were just like putting programmatic advertising in there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So every time it was just basically page view, like whenever someone came to the website, it would auto load an ad. You get some like percentage of that revenue, and those
exactly,
and those ads are still on the website today.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then like, are there the books they're still selling?
Yeah, they do. It's just, and it's all automated. So we just kind of like we don't do anything anymore. We just kind of see the revenue coming in and put it in a spreadsheet, and and that's it. It's not massive amounts. If the channel was still active.
Yeah. But it's like just some extra passive income that's coming in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about the birth of this yoga channel, because I think it also involved someone who had worked with you, totally, back in your independent days. So tell us about
Adrian was another lead in the same movie, and it's like we really, that was the first project we'd worked on together. We really liked working together on it, and it became a very intense production, so it was also like a bonding experience, and I felt bad that we were unable to complete the movie. Like I just felt like if you said, like, I'm like, regardless of why it fell apart, as the person that's like directing it and the person that's instigating the whole thing, I did feel like it was my fault that we didn't get it to the finish line, because like you're not like just doing it for fun. You want to like see your work finished and in a finished project. So yeah, I did feel bad about that, and I had wanted to work with Adrian on something, and when the cooking show this was like maybe 2 years, or actually like a year after we'd started doing the cooking thing. I was like, I think there's something here. Like, did we just like stumble upon this, or can this like system that we're doing with this be replicated in another, niche? And so I started talking to Adrian about that, and she was a yoga teacher at the time, and an actor. She's a trained actor, so she was like teaching donation-based yoga classes and acting in commercials and that type of thing. And so it took us about a year of like talking about it before we started shooting. So it actually like launched almost 2 years after the Hilah cooking channel launched, and yeah, we just had fun working together. That was a slow one, because it's another thing. We were early to it. Like we were early. There wasn't that much yoga on YouTube at the time, so we were early to it, and we kind of like got in right before there was a huge surge in interest in yoga. I mean, it was around, people were doing it, but at that time, we intentionally wanted to go after people that weren't, the like lady walking down the streets in Santa Monica with her coffee and her yoga mat slung across her back, or this kind of mountaintop upper class yoga experience. We were trying to like take the tools of yoga and make them accessible to someone that's like a mom with 2 kids and a busy schedule that lives in like Oklahoma, and she has like 20 minutes to like do something. And so we wanted to make a friendly experience for people that weren't necessarily already being served by what was out there in the yoga world at that time. So we went after a very different audience. But yeah, that one also took about 2 years before it started to really get traction and start being profitable.
And the idea was that like someone, instead, if they either didn't have access or time to go to a yoga studio, they could just fire up this YouTube channel and here's a new video that's like taking them through 30 minutes of a yoga routine, or was it more like how to do certain moves, or what was kind of the thinking, or like
we started with an introduction to all the like foundational yoga poses. So that was our first series, and then we started like yeah, there was like some keyword research on that as well to find out what people were searching for that was yoga related to bring in more people. But I think the important thing about that one is it's also, we spent a lot of time like talking, like working through how she communicated through the camera and how she taught through the camera, because we wanted it to feel like this is your friend that's like welcoming you over into her house, like into her yoga room to like do yoga together. We wanted it to be as friendly and accessible and inclusive as possible. So that took a little time figuring that out from a directing and from a performing standpoint. But I think that's, once again, what made the thing really work. It did have the core yoga sequences and practices that you can follow, but it was like really setting it up so that people felt a connection with her and would come back.
And how did
build
you
that relationship?
And how did you pitch her in terms of like your role in all this? And like, was it like something that through your production company, or how was the thinking around that?
It was really low key. It was like, do you want to like partner up and like do this? So yeah, so we just set up our own like partnership, and like we worked through like just a loose like operating agreement and set up a little LLC. So it was a totally like separate. It wasn't tied into any of the other stuff, and it wasn't like through a production company per se. It was just a agreement between her and I.
And what was your role early on with the channel?
Basically like coming up with like the content plan, and then like producing and like shooting and editing all the videos, and doing like the YouTube part, like the YouTube tinkering behind the scenes to see what we could get to, what was working and what we could get to go, how we could optimize those videos for like discoverability. And then just building the infrastructure so that we could get email addresses and the website, so that we had that presence as well.
So really just a producer role, just like in like every aspect of the production. And she was like kind of the on-camera talent, basically.
But also like I would come to her with like, okay, I think these are like the terms that we should like work around. You know, I think these have potential. Can you build a practice around that? So it's like she's like building the practice and also across social media and writing the newsletters, like extending that relationship across those different medias.
So it takes like 2 years. It starts kind of taking off. So what did that kind of unlock in terms of how it started to evolve into a real business? Like I know now there's an entire like membership community and stuff like that. So how did you start like turning it into a real business?
So first we started kind of like using the same model with digital products that we've done with Hilah Cooking. So the first, like, okay, let's make a course that is not on the YouTube channel, that's a little different, that has some other elements to it that people actually like pay for. So the first course we did was called Reboot, and it was like it was really like a 4-video course that also had an ebook with it, and then it also had like a calendar you could download and print off and like mark off the days. But we built like a Facebook group that was like an exclusive Facebook group for people that were in that course. Seems like all old timey stuff now, but it seemed kind of new at the time, and we were just like figuring it out, throwing stuff together to see if we could make this product really good. And people loved it, and the people that got together and like supported and encouraged each other through that first, because we sold the course once, but it was designed to be done over the course of January. So all these people were doing the same thing over the course of 1 month and like talking to each other about it, like building relationships in there. And that community experience was awesome. And from there, that seemed to like ripple out through through everything else that we were doing, and like that community stuff started to build. So we started opening up those like the Facebook community to more people. We would pop that course up again and sell it every few months, and then eventually made it available permanently. And it had been so successful for us that we decided we were going to move to the model. Okay, we're going to do 4 courses per year that aren't on the YouTube channel. So we'll launch one quarterly, and then we have a sustainable business. Through that process, we were working with a company called VHX to sell the courses. It was just like it was amazing, best thing that we found, and we really liked working with their team. And they asked us if we were interested in doing a membership app, like a subscription based SVOD, subscription video on demand app. And we didn't think we had enough content at the time, but not many people at our scale had their own apps. And it was like, this seems really cool. In like I guess this would be like 2016. Like, we're like, we want to have our own app, even if we don't feel like we're quite ready. So we decided to go for it, and we put all the courses, and then we also put the whole YouTube library in there and there's no ads, and we kept the price low, and then we just started gradually like growing that and adding to it over time. And the thing that really took off there was we found that on the YouTube channel, when we were putting non-specific yoga practice content on the YouTube channel, like if she wanted to do a vlog and just like answer questions or like talk about a trip or like do a little travel video or whatever, that would really like hurt the following yoga practice video. It was just like too many types of content on the YouTube channel, which we all know now. So we started putting the vlogs and travel type content on the membership, and that was the thing that really made it. That was the content that people like really engaged with there, and that's still like, her vlogs are still our most popular type of exclusive content on the membership. So
how much are you charging for it?
It's $14.99 a month right now.
And then like $150 for an annual membership. So talk about this app. Like, so is it like on the iPhone store? Is it on Roku? Is it on the web? Yep. Like what? Like where is all this?
So yeah, you can access it through a browser: iPhone, Android, Roku, Amazon, Samsung, Android TV. I think it's almost everywhere. Not on Sony or LG yet, but we're working on that.
Do you have to subscribe through the website, or can I subscribe through the Apple app or through through Roku or whatever?
You can subscribe through any of the platforms or the web.
And based on your analytics, where are you seeing most of the subscribers? How are they consuming it?
As far as like purchasing or access,
I would say just like purchasing, and also just like where are they watching these videos? Are they watching on their browser?
Yeah.
Like my wife, like she does yoga. I don't know if it's YouTube or what. Mm-hmm. But like she sets up her desktop or her laptop computer, and she's throwing it through her laptop. Like what are you seeing?
Because of the way that we promote the app, the majority of sales are in browser, but followed by Apple, then Android. But what we're seeing now is still surprising to me, number of people do still access through browser, whether it's through a laptop. I don't know if it's a laptop or a desktop. I'm guessing it's a laptop. But TV is surging massively, and I think like within the next, probably before the end of this year, our smart TV viewership will eclipse browser. And also browser's kind of always fighting it out with like the iOS apps. So, this changes like month to month, but like we have seen browser decline and smart TV increase, whereas like the apps remain about 35%.
And what's the release schedule look like in terms of the YouTube channel versus, like, do you release it on the app first, then the YouTube channel, or everything goes live simultaneously?
So if it's a YouTube video, it'll release on the app a few days before it goes on YouTube. And then we started to expand to have like more teachers in addition to just Adrian. These are people that most of them are they're all people that she knows, but some of them are involved in the yoga studio that she's a partial owner of in Austin. So like we have people coming through their yoga training program, and they may have something that she identifies, and so we start introducing them to the membership. And then we've just started doing live streams, and I think that's going to be that's the real like growth opportunity for us.
Live streams of the classes.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a Peloton type model where you actually have like multiple teachers and a mixture of live and on-demand content and stuff like that.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's the community aspect? So like you said, you started with these Facebook groups. Is there like a community function that you've moved into the app?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have like the community is now, we've experimented with a lot of different things, and basically everything from Facebook to Mighty Networks to Circle. We've experimented with we've experimented with like short duration communities where they're designed to have an endpoint. That actually works really well for people that want to try them. Try one of those. It's like, if it's like around like a a certain season or a certain series or whatever. But now our core community is like part of the app, and there's a certain amount of it that you can like access as a unpaid member, but the majority of it is you have to be a paid member to access, because that, you know, in our community and just like in general, and by the community I mean the people, not necessarily like the tech platform of the community, but there's like sensitive things that come up that people discuss. So it's nice to have our own community platform that's like only for paid members, and we know it's not, none of the data there's being used for advertising. That's one of the problems that we were having on. People would talk about like sensitive subjects in the Facebook communities, but then start getting targeted with ads that were a little predatory, in my opinion. So yeah, so we moved it all off of there, and it's just a private community now on our app.
And is it just like the ability to comment on videos, or is there like a message board where people can start their own discussion threads and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's an entire forum. So like we have 2 of the channels in the forum that are open to anybody, and then we have subjects that are, we call them channels, but like, so one's yoga, one's meditation, one is like just gardening, creativity, different things like that. So those are all members only.
And then for the YouTube channel, outside of AdSense and then driving people to the app and stuff like that, are there any other ways you monetize the YouTube channel? Like, does it have its own sponsors and anything like that?
We haven't really found like good sponsor fits for that one, because, and it's also like we can't like because we're doing long form yoga practices, we can't really like fully monetize that channel in the way that some other content types can, because we don't have mid-roll advertising, because that would like just interrupt the flow of the practice. And also because of our format, because our format works great, we don't like to deviate from it very much at all. It's not a natural fit for brand integration, so we haven't really done a lot of that there. We have had some multi-year things with like companies like Adidas, where it's not like mentioned in the videos, but like she'll wear Adidas leggings or whatever. And then so she's done some work with brands outside of the YouTube channel, like on socials and for their YouTube channels or for their social platforms, but that hasn't really been a natural integration for the channel. So we've always felt like keeping the channel as, you know, clean and authentic as possible. Not only is that a better experience for that, I mean, that's our core thing. Like the positive feedback that we get from people about the YouTube channel and just like how it's impacted their lives is incredible. And that's what really keeps us going through like the times where we're like both feeling really burned out. So we feel good about keeping that way under monetized compared to what it could be, because it's like, I do think that makes it easier to invite people into the paid things. And yeah, and we have sold our own physical merchandise like shirts and bags and things like that.
Yeah, that was my next question, like actual apparel for yoga. Is that a big part of your business?
Right now, it's mainly not specifically yoga apparel, but just t-shirts, and you know, it's not specific yoga apparel. That there is some stuff coming on that in the future, but it's still early days. And then people always ask us why we don't sell our own yoga mats, and it's just seems like a super easy thing to do, but like we've never like found a way to make the yoga mats to the quality that Adrienne wants. So that is one of the company that we've had an ongoing like relationship with is Manduka, which is her favorite mat company. So we have done some co-branded mats with Manduka, and we'll promote those through the YouTube channel, because there's Manduka mats in literally every video we've ever made.
So tell me about the live events.
So that started like really small in that. So Adrienne kind of went from, she was at the stage of like, she was teaching yoga classes that were like donation based, and she was often like doing, you know, like wherever she could. It was like in the lobby of a little theater in Austin. She was never like a traditional like teacher in a yoga studio, because like she was just about to get to that phase. And then we started the YouTube channel, and then she just kind of like jumped past that to a place where that was not even feasible because like the classes would have been like overwhelming in size, and it just would have been weird at that point. So we started experimenting with a small like yoga pop-ups where we would collaborate with, we would like just find a yoga studio in a city that she wanted to go to. The first one was in New York, and we would just promote those specifically to people that were on the YouTube channel, and we would sell those classes out all the time. Eventually those grew. I think some of our biggest have been, so we were doing one-offs around the country and then started putting them together as a tour, which we call a road show. And yeah, we've gone all over the world with those. And like some of our biggest ones have been in like Red Rocks, which was amazing, in Colorado, and then Alexandra Palace in London. Those are both like, Red Rocks is probably 3,000 people.
So these are huge venues where she's up on a stage on her yoga mat, and there are like thousands of people in the audience who have their yoga mats out and they're doing yoga with her.
Exactly.
And that's at that point, it's not about doing the yoga, but it's about experiencing the yoga live with her. Do you think? I mean, obviously, like
I think it's both, because and it's also, it's amazing because every single one of these that we do, there's like organic meetups from people that have become friends in the community. So like, as if you walk around outside before people are even, people are still like just starting to stand in line to get in, there's organic connections happening and people that have agreed to like meet, like made plans to meet up with their friends that they've met through the online community in real life for the first time. So that's like really cool. So there's that energy, like bringing the community part of it in real life. And then also just the fact that this is like the style of Adrian's yoga, and like the music, it's like, it is kind of, I mean, it's not like a live band yet, but the music and the lights and the yoga, it's all kind of, it's, even if you're not doing the yoga, the energy is pretty amazing. It's a big boost.
So, and then finally, you said that she now owns her own studio. How is that part of the bit, like your business, or is that something she's doing separately, or?
It's separately. She's an investor in a yoga studio. So she's a partial owner in a yoga studio called Practice Yoga Austin. So that we've had a good relationship with them for many, many years. And so a lot of their teachers are involved in our membership, but it's not like specifically tied to the business other than her.
So how does your company structure today, and like how has your role changed specifically?
So our company is, the Yoga with Adrian still exists as like the YouTube channel is its own thing, and then we've since spun off the app into its own company because it's just, there's a lot more moving pieces to that, and like we have a production studio in Austin where we shoot all this stuff for the video for those videos. The Yoga with Adrian videos are still in her house. So my role has kind of evolved into a lot more managing of people. We've got about 12 people, so a lot more. I'm basically primarily focused on strategy and business development and managing people at this point. So it's a little outside my skill set, but I'm figuring out as we go.
What's the breakdown in skill sets for those 12 people?
So we have 2 of them are like specifically video production and editing, and then we have 2 people that, we have one person that handles Adrian's schedule and relationships as far as it pertains to like partnerships with potential companies and other yoga teachers and like organizing our other group of teachers. She's got an assistant. We've got someone that just manages everything that's going on with the app. So she's like on top of like all the elements of the app at all times as far as like the metrics and what's going on in the community and all that kind of stuff. We have one dedicated community person. We've got 2 people in finance and accounting and bookkeeping, that type of thing. And then we have someone that's essentially running like the operations of all the like scheduling all the shoots and scheduling, making sure everybody's in the right place at the right time. And when we go on tour, he's handling all the logistics of the tour. Anything that involves with like, it's kind of logistics / producing.
So you've now started 2 pretty successful, I would say very successful YouTube channels. Why stop there? Like, why not just that? Like, why doesn't your company just be like, this is what we're doing, was we're going to strategically find like really good creators and who are really smart in certain verticals, and then that maybe, are focused on evergreen content, and we're just going to build it vertical by vertical by vertical.
That is like the smart thing to do for sure. Right. And it's like, it's one of those things where, I've mentioned a couple of times where it's like, we didn't go the traditional like book publishing route just because it didn't really fit our personalities. This is one of those like areas as well that we've like started to dabble in, and like it hasn't really felt like a good fit. I do a lot of personally, I do a lot of consulting and coaching with other creators, and that's very satisfying to me because it's still like, I love like people that are still like figuring things out and in the startup mode, and how you can like strategize around like, okay, well, if you change, if we explore these different things with like how you're talking to the audience, and like what the flow of your videos is, and also here's some no-brainer like business development things that you can do without necessarily having to like go the traditional like getting sponsored content route, which can like actually like take a lot of time compared to like take a lot of time and work compared to how much you actually make from those deals. So like the consulting has kind of solved that for me, but I've just been in production for the last couple of weeks on something new that's not in like the how-to. It's very startup and potentially being figured, I feel like it's an area that's still being figured out that I can't talk about too much right now. So that kind of keeps me busy. So some of it's time, and do we want to like double the size of the company and do more of like what we've been doing? That is the smart move from a business perspective, because it would, I have no doubt that it would work. It's just doesn't get me like super excited, and that's probably why we haven't been able to pull it off.
So when you're looking ahead like 2 to 3 years from now, what do you want to be doing that you're not doing now, either with the yoga channel, or other things within your filmmaking production stuff?
Yeah, I'm definitely like finally circling back to the filmmaking in a more YouTube centric way, and so we'll see how that works.
So this is the stuff you
next
can't
year.
talk about.
Next year you can check back. Yeah. So,
I don't know if you've watched or read my newsletter, but I've kind of been like
of course I read it.
Watching for a few years now. It's like, when are we going to get our first like true TV series or true like Hollywood quality film that's like native to YouTube? And what would that look like? I mean, we're starting to see some things like it, but like nowhere near the production of like a Netflix or an HBO or something like that. So I do think that's coming sometime in the future. I just don't know how far out.
It's also interesting to think about, like, maybe it actually doesn't look like a movie, and maybe it actually doesn't look exactly like a TV show, right? So it's like I think that there's something that's really interesting going to be happening on YouTube that may not specifically look like a huge movie or a super polished TV show that will have the same impact as something along those lines. But like, I don't know, I feel like I'm not quite there yet, but I'm like seeing like potential in something that's of a scale of impact of something like that, but may look and feel very native to these new platforms. So
okay, Chris,
that's what I'm chasing right now.
Okay, Chris, those are all the questions I have for you. Where can people find you online? ChrisSharpe.com. It's a Substack newsletter, and if you're interested in the story, there's a lot more detail there about all of the stuff that we've done. Awesome. Well, this is a lot of fun. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you.